Well, hello. This is Vinney Chopra back again with the weekly podcast. Sometimes we are even doing two or three a week, by the way. Just kind of catching up. We are hitting 100,000 downloads, going to be 125, then 150,000 downloads. And please like us and give us 5-star reviews and also share if these contents really, help you and so forth like that on iTunes, give 5-star reviews. Again, this is the Syndication Made Easy show. I wrote that book, International Top Seller, Positivity Brings Profitability is the second book. The third book is coming out, which is the Senior Living Investing Made Easy. And it's going to be fabulous. I've got a great guest today for you. And actually, he's a repeat. Dylan has come maybe 2-3 times on our show. And it's wonderful to pick his brain and see what he's doing and how this whole journey has evolved for him in the last 5 years, maybe 5 years or so, right? Let me introduce you to Dylan. Many of you know Dylan Marma very well. He's a principal of the Equity Group, a real estate investment company focused around the acquisitions and operations of the mobile home parks, multifamily units, and also investor portal. I know, Dylan, you were in that too. And he has been now principal of over 750 units in multifamily and over 800 units in mobile home parks, also amounting to almost $80 million. So that's no small feat, to do it in such a short time, in just 4 years. And he's been featured in dozens of podcasts, definitely, and have also spent over, I think, hundreds of hours, helping, students and commercial real estate investors, and he also has CCIM certificate and everything. So Dylan, welcome back, buddy. And take us, a little bit in the starting, how you started briefly, but then let's go to your journey as an investor, how you've evolved. It's been just very, very wonderful to watch you grow, buddy. Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me back, Vinney. I'm envious of seeing the California weather behind you, where it's raining here in Tampa today. But I'm excited to be back on the show, and I hope that we can provide sort of a unique angle on today's episode too, regarding some of these stages and the progression that you take as sort of an entrepreneur, investor, deal sponsor, and so on. As I know you and I have been talking about that quite a bit, so definitely excited to dive into that. And as you mentioned, I think it's a lot of the way that we get better is by reaching out to people, right? I think it's all about kind of constantly raising the bar and reaching out to people that are further down the path than you are and seeing how we can give back along the way.
Totally. I mean, it all started, maybe 4 years back for you or something. And you were in San Diego, just to briefly kind of, if you want to give a complete, some of those new people.
Yes. So I was working a W-2 job. I left school at 19 to go work for a W-2 job in real estate investing, trying to get I had the sort of entrepreneurial bug in me. So I got into a position where I could be around other people that were actively investing, started to save up my money and buy some rental properties. And I knew that I wanted to go and do something bigger and kind of put myself in a position where I could grow an investment company of my own. Was fortunate to sort of skip the whole fix and flip route, which I saw a lot of at that time, and had my eyes opened up to the world of multifamily syndication. Not too long after being exposed to it, I stumbled across Vinney on I think it was on a Facebook group, and we messaged back and forth, and then soon enough jumped on a call. And between working with Vinney a whole lot and doing a lot of networking, kind of getting out there and meeting other people in the space and learning what I could from folks that were further down the road, I eventually built up the knowledge and the confidence base to go pursue my first deal, which was a 21 unit, and then eventually go full time. And since then, it's really been full steam ahead, working 7 days a week to grow the business. And now today, we're sitting at, over 1,600 units roughly. So it's been a great journey so far.
Awesome. I know I've been very impressed with, of course, your desire, your passion. You're, trying to be a student of the profession, which is always something I preach and I talk. If I had not gotten a coach or mentor, I wouldn't be where I am today. Literally, because a lot of fear come in our mind. We overanalyze things. We look at so many negative things that will happen, and especially when you're dealing with money of other investors, other groups like that, that also brings fear in your mind. I don't want to take the wrong steps and I don't want to lose money.
Brings fear and pressure, right? It's a big responsibility. I know for me early on, I definitely felt a lot of that. Yep.
Exactly. Now, systems. So take us through, I know you're a great guy. You're an action taker. Let me tell you that. I mean, you rushed out to Atlanta. And I remember the first meetup group, you had 400 some people join you right away.
Yeah, the meetup group was a great starting point. I'm actually still run a local meetup group here in Tampa, actually. So I think meetups were a great way to kind of go out there and build a network, especially being in a new city. For me, I just moved to Tampa back in October. When I moved to Atlanta, I didn't really have a network out there either. So it's nice. It's a great way to kind of plug in, kind of meet the local community, and things along those lines. And when it comes to systems, I think the systems that you have in place are going to be crucial to sort of scaling, right? I think when you look at, when you're getting started in this space, you're really focusing on just acquisitions, right? And it's really not that difficult. I guess like people can almost take for granted when they're just getting started, because all they're doing is having to look at deals and then talk to investors, right? It seems daunting, definitely seems daunting, right? You said there's definitely gonna be a lot of limiting beliefs of, can I really do this? And it's definitely very difficult. So I'm not downplaying that, but I am saying that in the beginning that you have so much time and freedom to just talk to investors and look at deals. And then once you really get going, things start to shift a little bit, because now you realize that the operations aspect of the business starts to consume a tremendous amount of your time. So it's how do you scale from there? And definitely the first few hundred units are very different than the next few hundred units are. Say the first 500 are very different than the next 500, because now you have to manage your existing portfolio well, and you have a lot of responsibility there, and you also must continue to I think typically we want to continue to grow the portfolio and scale, right? So I think the way that we do that well is through having the right systems in place. I mean, it's a mixture of systems and delegation, and knowing what can you effectively delegate and what can you put into a system. So that's something, I mean, we're still learning every day, and as a company, we're putting a lot of thought into there. But I think that, the early stage sort of entrepreneur that wants to syndicate a deal is, again, it's just a lot of keeping good notes, keeping good notes on the people you talk to, right? Really engaging in broker relationships, engaging in a lot of investor relationships. So you want to build those good habits early. And then from there, you go out, now you have your first deal done, right? Or your first, second deal, you start to build some credibility. So now you have credibility. And then finally, the deal flow and the investor flow should start to sort of catch some initial momentum. And now you have to think about, okay, so how do I take care of the assets that are there and report well to the investors that are in place. And I think that from that side of things, again, it's going to be a people thing, and it's going to be a system thing. The people that I feel like have been most beneficial is having someone there that can handle some elements of your asset management and reporting. And this is usually, I always consider the asset manager sort of the glue between a lot of times the principal or the lead sponsor and the property management, right? And a lot of times the sponsor will also be doing a lot of asset management, but as you grow, having someone that's solely dedicated towards being very hands-on with the operations, paying attention, sort of giving that day-to-day accountability and oversight to your operations team, or meeting weekly with your property managers and seeing what's going on and helping make, it's someone you definitely want to trust to have them make the right decisions along the way, give them the autonomy to sort of thrive in that sort of position by finding the right person. And then that gives you the peace of mind to help sleep at night, that you have, the attention needed. You sort of find the right person that can be like an extension of yourself to make sure that you have really a real hand on the pulse on that side of things. Right. So that's I think the first sort of crucial team member that I think comes into play when you're thinking about the people side. And then on the system side, a lot of the times I really encourage having some kind of a project management software, right? And I don't think it matters which one it is, if it's Monday or Asana, or if you use Google Sheets or something like that. I know, Vinney's a big advocate for checklists, right? He has a lot of like checklists for the due diligence checklist, for the takeover checklist, right? And I think we've sort of taken a lot of those early templates and modified those and made them our own over time. But we have a lot of our processes looks like this. We basically will have one person that tries to take the deal to the point of contract. A lot of times that's me. I find that I love hunting for deals and talking to brokers, but then at the point where we put the deal under contract, then it's trying to have someone that's involved with the actual transaction management, right? Someone that's trained to be able to handle working with the lenders, working with the insurance, right? It's important that we're staying on top of insurance in today's market, right? And getting ahead of that early, as well as starting to get all of your CapEx projects quoted out, things along those lines. And then they're going to take that to the finish line, right? From the PSA to the closing, hopefully. And then you're going to pass the baton off to the actual operations manager, right? Thinking about those processes, there's a lot that goes into due diligence. There's a lot that goes into the operations side. So having a very crystal clear checklist, I think for the due diligence side of things goes a very long way. But then if you use like a nice online platform, you can actually like collaborate and write comments and check in and say, hey, tell me more about this, or hey, how's this going? And kind of see the timelines in real life and kind of see what's going on behind the scenes. That helps quite a bit, I would say. And then the same thing goes for your actual takeover processes. In the first like 90, having that 90-day plan that sets your kind of your pace setter to be able to ensure that you're getting all the quotes you need early on. You're handing out your takeover letters, right? The very first day. You're getting your marketing collateral in place, your flyers. You're holding a resident event if you plan to do that to create goodwill. All of like those crucial sort of early impact projects upon the takeover. So those to me are two of like the early steps that we found very, very beneficial for the
so true, Dylan. What you just said is so true. We sometimes feel getting a property and getting money and investors done. No, it's not. Very little is really written about and also talked about is when we get the keys to the 100 unit or 500 unit, multi-million dollar asset. Now what to do? So the real thing starts when we pick up those keys and we don't live next to the property. I have seen that 34 times. Now I've done 34 syndications. You give this person you just met, called the community manager, who you're going to pay $60,000 or $70,000, keys to the $52 million deal, literally, or $35 million deal. It's daunting. It's daunting that, you're on the loan, your investors, everything. So it's so important to really find the right community managers and the whole team and the leadership team, if you're doing yourself or having a great company to really be with you side by side, who have hundreds of years of experience together, with the people on the top, and their whole structure is so strong that you won't fail. See, that's the other part, right? And many times we have found that, getting a third-party company is the right choice to really get it moving in the early stages, but like you're getting bigger and bigger. You and I talked about it. And you are hiring asset manager position, and you have like 14 or 15 people now, full-time team members. That's exciting. Is your accounting department also in-house now? Or
so we currently have an in-house bookkeeper, and we're actually in process of discussing or talking and interviewing several possible controllers that would bring the entire accounting in-house end to end. And the only thing we would do out of house would be our tax returns. So we're very close to taking ownership of that too, and bringing.
I love it. That's exactly at the peak. We had 135 people. Team members, full-time team members in our company, vertically integrated, 135, praise the Lord. We had, of course, VP of finance, then 4 people in that department, because we were dealing with so many assets. Then we had the payroll director, and then we had the asset manager, regional managers, then of course the community managers and the lead maintenance and the porters and all. Like each property had 4 to 6 people all those things, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's well combined. I'm very excited. I mean, how you have taken that turn to really integrate, because what I found, and you're going to find it too, and everybody listening to us, that when you take charge of the finances in-house, you look at every dollar in a much different way than when the third party spends your money. I'm telling you, at the end of the month, they say, oh, we paid for this, and it's done. But when you are managing it, you are negotiating the contracts, you're talking deeper into the vendors, you're getting the 3 bids, you are making sure every dime that we are spending is well spent. I mean, there are lots of savings is the word, I think, when you go vertical.
And yeah, like to your point, there's some tremendous third-party management companies out there, and it makes sense in many cases to go with them. But you also have to think always about the alignment of interests. And a lot of the times when you have like a mediocre third-party management company, there's just not the alignment there. They're not treating you like a partner. They're thinking, how do we make our lives easier? And rather than getting 3 quotes, they're going to use the vendor they have the best relationship with to just do the job. Rather than fixing your HVAC, they're going to try to replace it so they don't have to deal with it breaking down every few months, right? So they're oftentimes thinking, how do we create less work for ourselves in the near future, and how do we create less turnover for ourselves, right? So instead of raising the rents, let's keep them nice and low. That way we have less turnover, we have less work to do, right? So you really have to think about the alignment of interests, and even though the interests may not always be perfectly aligned, if you want to find a third-party manager if you're using one that thinks the same way that you do as an operator.
So true, Dylan. I mean, this is $1 million advice right now to everybody listening. It's so important that you really go and interview several people, several companies, and then you decide and write down on the Excel worksheet. We got these great worksheets. I know, Dylan, you had put those questions into a great, worksheet. I know a lot of our students have used it. If anybody's interested, please just email John at vinneychopra.com or Vinney at vinneychopra.com. We'll provide it to you. It's amazing because you are able to compare apples to apples and look at what their software they're using, how much they're charging for each item, their price sheet, how do they lease, what's their payroll. Oh my gosh, we have found 26% more than 33% more actually. So your payroll, when you are doing yourself, could be reduced by quite a lot because they have all these different, charges they put on. So be careful about all those things, and of course, ask them a price sheet. It's so important to ask them nickel and diming every software, everything, all these administrative things. I mean, they charge everything to your asset,
there's a lot of sort of silent killers that can get slipped in there, right? There's the lease up fees. Some of them will charge a full month for leasing up the unit, right? And if you have half your units turnover, that's can be a very significant amount of income, right? You also, not to say that you never want any lease up fee, but a full month is quite steep. Then you want to think about your management fees. Like they may be billing back $20 an hour labor at
for sure.
$100 an hour, right?
Why? Are we with us? Are we together? I think
we are. Should I start over again?
No, a little bit you were talking about. Sorry, we missed it.
I'll start over with just that last piece. But I was saying you really want to watch out for those different things that get marked up along the way, like the $20 an hour labor that they're going to bill you back at $100 an hour, right? So you really have to sort of watch. It's in the details. The devil's in the details in many ways, right? But the other thing I would say is you don't want to nickel and dime your property manager. On one side of the coin, you want to make sure that you have the alignment of interests with the fee structure, but you also don't want to nickel and dime your manager up front and start the relationship trying to negotiate pricing with them too much or beat them up over the fees, because it's more about how good of a job they're going to do at increasing your revenue and keeping the occupancy high than it is about how, how cheap are you, how little are you paying them, right?
Exactly.
It's the same thing as when you're hiring a good employee. Like, it's not about how cheap can I get the employee, it's how much value are they going to create. And I think it's the same mentality. Like, the last thing you want to do is try to suffocate your property manager on, it's already kind of a low margin business as is. So if you try to beat them up about that, I don't think it's going to be a good thing for your relationship. So I would rather pay more and get just exceptional service when it comes to this.
I totally agree, 100%, agree with you, Dylan, because it's the revenues. If they can increase the revenues, less delinquency, less concessions, and keep the occupancy higher, and make sure we are using the LR, with the dynamic renting, software nowadays, with more, demand is there, it increases the rent for that day.
Exactly.
It's so amazing. It's so amazing, those things are out there. Many of the viewers probably know those, but they are really great to get implemented in your software. And what it does is, if the demand is more people are watching and looking for apartments in your neighborhood, it increases the rent depending on how other communities are leasing at that time, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom. So I think it's called LRR. I think Monica knows it more than I do, Yeah. Let's get into go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's always about, I'm a big believer in the top line growth is always the most important thing, right? And I would sacrifice, going over on expenses a little bit if it's going to be to push the top line, because when it comes time to sell or refinance, that's always what's going to be the real determinant of the long-term value. So, so it's always about investing well into the community to make sure you're maximizing the top line.
How do you really wake up in the morning? Take us through your routine. What kind of goals you set, and how you, deal with the whole day ups and downs. Maybe that might be helpful.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a big believer that you want to definitely have some sort of a 10-year sort of goal in mind. It doesn't have to be super detailed, but just a general direction as to where you'd like to be in the next 10 years, and what the company is going to look like, what your values are, and how that is going to, create a good lifestyle for you that you're going to be able to enjoy. So for me, I always keep sort of our 10-year vision in mind, and our 10-year vision is largely, dealing with probably, $1 billion plus in total assets, 10,000 plus units, and having a large team, I think remaining vertically integrated here in the Southeast, and just creating great culture for our, team members and our investors, great relationships, and sort of having a long-term outlook on the people we bring on, creating incentives to keep them around long-term, holding our deals on longer term, right? Rather than being like quick flips all the time, I think. I think just, I can keep going on that, but having a clear sort of 10-year vision, which is gonna be unique for everyone. And then getting more granular as to what those immediate steps look like in terms of like the next 2 to 3 years. For me, one thing I'm thinking about often now is, how do I hire 6 months ahead of time and start to bring the team members on early so that we can be effective with being able to scale what we're starting. And thinking about, who do we need to be able to accomplish that 10-year plan, and what kind of team can we assemble in these next 3 years? So taking a lot of steps on that side of things. So that's a lot of my general sort of outlook as far as getting more granular on the 3-year plan, getting a big juicy 10-year plan that gets you excited and keeps you pushing through the day-to-day setbacks that might happen. And then on just a daily basis, I think it's just about giving yourself a chance. I try to just center myself with gratitude a lot of the times, right? Because you're going to face chaos. So I think that going back to what you're grateful for on a, every morning, thinking about that, first thing when you wake up, and then throughout the day, sort of centering back to the gratitude of enjoying the now and the, our current experiences and successes that we have. And I think that for me, that serves me very well. Other routines go, I'm pretty fluid with my schedule. I'm not a super rigid, every single hour I have a very specific schedule. My days kind of vary. Every day is a little bit different. I'm taking all kinds of calls on the fly and things are coming up. So I have to sort of be I
Sure.
feel better, like I do better sort of being a little bit fluid overall.
Yeah.
But for me, like I definitely have more of like a weekly setup that I have where like Mondays are my big meeting day where I like to meet with all the team members. We do like a group team meeting and then we'll do one-on-ones. And then I try to even send out on like a Friday night, sending out even after our call tonight, I'm gonna prep a bunch of questions for our team so that at Monday over the weekend they can answer the questions to kind of think about what went well last week, what could have gone better, what's my focus for this week, and then I'll meet with them on Monday after they've put some thought behind that and sort of get into like setting the momentum for like making sure we're all steering the ship in the same direction on Monday. Then I try to go for Tuesdays being more of like a podcast day, connection day. Like if I have podcasts, I try to do a lot of Tuesdays. I try to do a lot of my like phone calls and people, that want to set up calls on like the Tuesdays, reaching out to brokers, investors, things along those lines. And then Wednesday is just like I put my head down and try not to schedule as much to kind of just get all of like the back office stuff done, like action items. Thursdays can be a little bit of both for the most part. And then Fridays, I don't schedule as much on Fridays because I do a lot of like, that's like my catch-all day where I try to like wrap up any loose ends that I have before sort of getting towards the end of the week. So I try to kind of plan out my calendar like strategically day by day.
Awesome. No, that's great. Fabulous. Let me get into your mind. Like what kind of books are you reading now or some podcasts which are really making a difference in your thinking, in your experiences and all? Yeah.
Yeah. So lately, I've been just getting back to, I think about like, I guess recently the last few weeks I've been going into a bunch of Tony Robbins stuff. Like he's one of the classics. So I definitely always enjoy his stuff from just like a mindset perspective, waking up to that kind of stuff and like drip feeding it to yourself over. I just think, there's a lot of good stuff there when it comes to like how to, control your mental states, how to, how to work with other people, become the best version of yourself, right? I think a lot of times we have to anchor back to a lot of that base level personal development stuff because I think that's what really is going to make us the best version of ourselves. Therefore, we can give more to the people around us. That's definitely been a big thing. I've learned a lot, mostly actually recently from other people. So like, I remember like when I was first getting started reaching out to people that had like a few hundred units, right? Or like had a few deals that like were further down. And now like in the last 2 weeks, I've had 2 calls with mentors that have, like 10,000 plus units. Like I'm reaching out to people that are like further down the road and seeing, hey, how did you scale to this $20,000 unit portfolio? Who did you hire, right? How did you kind of incentivize them? And, so I'm kind of like at the next stage, which is, it's kind of nice. Like, I feel like I've broken through a plateau where I feel like I'm at the next stage of like reaching out to a whole nother level of success and trying to like pick their brain and figure it out, right? So like that's really what helped me big time when I got started. Was I was never scared to pick up the phone and call and like ask for help or feedback. And I think that even as we see success, we can't let our pride get in the way of realizing we don't know it all. So
totally. I'm still learning, and I know I have a lot of things to learn. And I'm getting so fired up about the senior living and development, construction, and everything. It's just exciting me to, be getting me more and more in that direction. But no, thank you so much for your time. It's great hanging with you. How can people reach you, and what do you do for fun?
So people can definitely reach me on most of the social media platforms, mainly LinkedIn. I'm most active on these days. So you can definitely get me on there or shoot me an email at dylan@therequitygroup.com. That's Requity, equity with an R before it, group.com. And for fun here in Tampa, I just love being outside and getting a taste of the weather that we're blessed to have here. I've been trying to get out and take runs and just explore the area. So it's all still new and exciting for me here, and definitely enjoying that quite a bit. So
love it. Yeah, Dylan, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. I know you have your podcast too, and I want everybody to join also and subscribe, because Dylan brings great guests also on the show, and definitely reach out to him.
It's operators and allocators.
Operators and allocators. Here we go. So it's the great, great way to really learn this business, and follow the path of some successful people. That's what it's all about. Thank you so much. If you like this podcast and the content, please give some comments and reach out to us, to me, Vinney at vinneychopra.com, John, Jon, at vinneychopra.com, or Ethan, Ethan, at vinneychopra.com. And we love to meet you, love to talk to you. I'll be coming actually to the Florida area, Tampa area, Orlando area, and love to meet with you all and so forth. So thank you again, and give us 5-star reviews. Remember, don't forget to do that. And we'll see you next week, next show. Thank you. Thank you, Dylan, buddy. Thank
Thanks
you
so
so much. I appreciate that.